Yeah, I thought I'd spent some time thinking about homosexuality. That TikTok keeps pushing these really strong pastors who make these very strong speeches against homosexuality. So I thought I'd break it down from a biblical perspective. So if we could either consider the prohibition against homosexuality to be a ceremonial, moral, or a legal commandment, right? So is the commandment against homosexuality a lot like the commandment against eating pork that we eventually disregarded once we reformed our ceremonies, right? We can change our ceremonies. It doesn't matter too much if we follow them one year and don't follow them the next year. The purpose of ceremony is to reach a state of godliness. So we don't need to be too strict other than when we're in a temple. And the prohibitions against homosexuality specifically referred to entering the one and only temple in Jerusalem that I myself don't enter. Then there is the moral question. It's like, yeah, but is it something that we either just condemn morally or condemn legally? And there's a few passages in New Testament where explicitly states not to punish people for homosexuality because in Israelite culture they had the death penalty for homosexuality, and Christians are more liberal and don't have the death penalty for homosexuality, despite that a few countries eventually did persecute homosexuality. So it definitely isn't meant to be something that we're supposed to be persecuting. So you could say, at its worst, homosexuality is spoken about in the same thought of pornography, prostitution, infidelity, cheating, breaking adultery, breaking marriage vows, which were at the time also a death penalty, right? So, in context, how much time do you think it's valuable for a pastor to talk about homosexuality being a sin in comparison to, say, pornography and adultery? Let's leave it those two. It's like, if you had a pastor talking about pornography every week, you might think it's excessive. Right? Once every so often, once a month, once every 2 months, right? Because there's loads of sins to get through. The Bible is big. We have if you follow any decent Bible studies program, you're reading each passage once a year, right? So each passage, from a study point of view, you may only come across once per year as you're studying the Bible. So why would your pastor be talking about homosexuality every week? Or, sorry, in my context, it seems to be every day, just getting all this anti-gay stuff. It, in context of the culture I live in, which is Ireland, I would put a strong emphasis on pornography and adultery because they are more visibly harmful to our culture society than, say, homosexuality. Like, I mean, there's foul homosexuals who wear fetish gear in the afternoon and they're waving their genitals to children, right? People like that should be jailed. That's a moral issue. That's a legal issue, right? They should be jailed. There's homosexuals who just go to work and then they go to a gay bar on the weekend, right? And for me, accepting them to church makes sense because it's sort of like, well, they're following all the other commandments. Following all the other commandments. Not going to pressurize them to not be a homosexual. Like if a homosexual behaves and acts like a moral Christian, I'm like, yeah, cool. We'll just accept them. Like, there's a war on at the moment. There are Islamists infiltrated in every sector of Irish society, in education, the nursing trade unions, the tech trade unions, the media and politics. I don't have time to have too many gay thoughts or to thinking about gay people. I'm just thinking about, right, who's going to be a soldier and who's going to who can march to war with us and get rid of radical Islam. Because I'm thinking in terms of proportionality, defending your nation from invaders is half the Bible or 2/3 of the Bible, right? Like, is mostly about defending your nation from invasion. So if you're not defending your nation from invasion, then like being worried about homosexuals or even OnlyFans girls, who I just kind of for myself, like put homosexuals and OnlyFans girls in the same category. Like it's like OnlyFans girls, I just laugh at them and that's it. Move on with my life. Don't think about OnlyFans all day long. So I guess so. What I'm saying is that because the prohibition against homosexuality is the same sector that bans eating pork, that's not really that important. From a legal point of view, it states that God punishes homosexuals. People don't need to do that. So therefore, it's actually sinful to harass people for being gay. You just kind of, you know, you just let them go to church, you let them do all that stuff, and then you just kind of have to go, look, like, at the end of the day, two heterosexuals producing children, working every day is what God commands, right? And then heterosexual people who aren't married and not having kids are in a similar boat to a homosexual. And there's no point getting angry with people because they're not following those rules. Because, like, in proportion, those people can come to church and they can give to charity and they can be productive members of society. So, like, yeah, I think you need to dial it down, you know, on the combination of condemning homosexuality, because it's like, we've kind of solved the problem with having like gay bars and stuff, because it's like, great, cool, they go there, like, I no longer have to worry about them. They have a special place to go to that I'm not going to. So I'm like, so come Sunday when it comes to church, or let's say I'm going to go to church later on. If someone's there and I know they're homosexual, I'll be like, okay, cool, they're at church, gonna have coffee, and I'm gonna chat with them about the other issues that I consider more important. Like, I don't know, the Islamic takeover of Ireland I keep mentioning. So yeah, so that's my take on it. Like, read the Bible, looking at Romans, like it clearly states, like, not to penalize homosexuals. It's it's a fairly minor sin in comparison to like murdering people at a music festival. You know what I'm saying?